logging in. All right, you guys, it is 6 o'clock, and some people have texted me that they're having trouble logging in, but I see now some are showing up. This is Wednesday, June the 3rd. It's the Florida Course Supervisor Program meeting. And currently who I see we have joining us is Joshua Moreno, Tom Nestor, Felipe Rodriguez, Noah Torres, Desiree, and Jamie is trying to get in, but is having difficulty. So I'm just going to share that after May 30th, Zoom said if you're not running at least version 5.0, that you may have unexpected results. So I'm saying that in the recording now. Well, Jamie just said he has 5.0.4. Just saying this in the recording now so that people can make sure their Zooms are up to date. And let's see, WhatsApp is getting blown up. Zoom doesn't seem to be taking the password. Having difficulty getting on call. All right, hold on, you guys. I'm going to send the link through WhatsApp to this meeting. It's interesting that some are in and some aren't. So let's see what we can do here. And can you guys just either unmute or nod your heads and say that you can hear me? I could be talking to nobody. Okay, good.
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I am going to log on to my laptop.
Okay.
And log down, I'll disconnect here.
All right. If you have any trouble, I just sent the link through the WhatsApp group in case that helps.
I just have the link in my calendar, so.
Yeah, that's the link I used. Okay, well, Fitzgerald is joining us now. Column is here now. I love the hat column. Oh, well, that was quick. Okay, Fitzgerald, you're not connected with your audio. When you joined, you didn't connect with audio. Hi, Desiree.
Right.
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. For some reason, Zoom on my laptop is not accepting the password. It keeps saying it's invalid.
That's interesting.
Uh-huh.
So just now, did you use the link I sent?
I used the link on my phone. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So I'm on my phone.
All right. Jamie just says, Jamie is trying to get in. Let's see what he says. Can you press a call in phone number? Okay. The call in phone number. Well, I think that is on the calendar. There's Sherry. Hi, Sherry. Second, guys.
It worked for me, Column.
Did it?
Yeah. I copied it from the Course Supervisor website.
Yeah, that's where I was pulling it from, and it's telling me it's too many characters. So I don't know. More than likely, it's something I did. No, not more than likely. I will assert it's something I did.
Well, it's technology.
You're always wrong.
Of course I'm always wrong. That's the way I wound up being.
Well, I'm going to share a little bit. Remind me, Colin, to speak to the way we wound up being a little bit later when I share about the forum for graduates.
Awesome. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get started. I hope that Jamie can get in. I sent him the phone number to dial in. And maybe he can get in that way. And then who we're also expecting is Monica. And I think that's it. Everybody else, oh, Dave Williams and Monica, both of them had said they would be here and they're not. So, all right, well, let's get started. Thank you for being here. Who would like to generate the bold statement? Let's go ahead and take yourself off mute.
I'll do that since I'm already off mute.
Okay, great.
And given my performance last time, we, the course supervisors, are given by a possibility bigger than ourselves, holding as sacred the integrity of the clearing in which transformation occurs, causing the fulfillment of our brand, master providers of whatever is needed.
Right. You redeemed yourself, Fitzgerald. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I wanted to start our meeting today with having anybody share anything they want to around what's going on in your world, what's going on in the world, what you're dealing with. You know, there's a lot that has happened just in the past few days in our country. And for those of you that were on the Monday night call with Gitanjali, you could really hear that people are powerfully dealing with what's happening in the world. And so I just want to make sure that we all have the opportunity to share what we are dealing with around the virus, the pandemic, around the violence and what's going on and the protesting and everything that's happening. So I just want to give you all an opportunity to share about that. Jamie, hi. You can unmute yourself.
Tim, this is Colin. I'd love to share about that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Colin.
Okay, so for the last 5 days now, we've gone out every evening around 5 p.m. and boarded up one of our biggest clients' businesses in the areas that they're going to be protests at. And every morning we get there at 5:30 in the morning and take all the boards down so their business can be open for the day. Sunday morning was really sad. You know, Saturday night was a fairly violent night here in Tampa. And we had been out right in the area where the protests were. I drove through the middle of the protest to get to one of the properties. Everybody was telling me, turn around, go away, you shouldn't be here right now. And one of my guys was already on the site. I can't leave him alone. So we go to the building, we board it up. We drive to the next building and the cops turn us around at a location, said, you don't want to go any farther, you need to drive around here. The next morning we got to that location. It was the gas station that had been burnt down here in Tampa, or one of the buildings that had been set ablaze. And the clerk that was in it couldn't get out. That part's not been on the news yet. And we literally were at that corner the night before, standing there talking to the police officers to find out what way we could get to the buildings we were at. And to take something that's already so tragic and make it worse when so many others are just trying to make it better. It's just horrible. It's really, really sad. somebody felt the need to firebomb a gas station with somebody inside it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, my nights are all mixed up because I haven't had a day off in a couple of weeks here, but whatever night it was, I think 2 nights ago when Trump launched tear gas into the peaceful protest, I really think I wanted to get in my truck and just drive to DC and join the protesters.
Mm.
For our leadership to show just blatant disregard for our rights and just human rights, basic human rights, and the right for somebody to be heard is atrocious. And I don't know what it's going to take, but I'll give it everything I have to make sure that man's not in that presidency again. Sad.
Yeah, I got it, Colin. You know, I can't imagine what you're dealing with knowing that you were out there trying to support the businesses and that you were turned away and couldn't help that person, and that person is now not here. So thank you for just being someone that's courageous to do what you see there is to do, considering the danger. I'm not sure I would be doing that. I'm sure I would not be doing that. But thank you for being someone who is there to support other people and being safe.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
That's what the world needs right now.
Yeah.
That's what I'm given by what's needed.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, Colin?
No, that's it for now.
Yeah. Okay. All your family's okay?
All my family's safe.
Okay, good.
We're counting blessings.
Yeah, exactly. Good. All right. Okay, who's next? Who'd like to? Hi, Monica. You joined us here. Good to see you. We are sharing anything you want to share, what you're dealing with, what you want to share or talk about, what's going on in your world, in our country, anything.
Well, first, I just want to restore integrity that I wasn't on time. I said I would be, and it doesn't work. And the impact is I didn't know what was going on in the call, and I'm late. And if anybody has anything to say about that, I'm open to hearing that right now.
Yeah, thanks. What do you see there is to put into place so it doesn't happen again?
Set an alarm. I was on a call and it went over, but yeah.
Did you have the alarm and you just didn't do anything with it, or there just wasn't an alarm?
There was no alarm set today.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay, got that.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Anything you want to share?
Well, I'm finding it hard to do anything. Like I just felt like I had to take a nap today. I'm really affected by this emotionally, and getting, I'm going deep into my rackets to see what rackets are coming up for me as far as, making it wrong, making myself wrong, or, looking for ways to deal with it, with everything. Feeling the impact of watching stuff that's really disturbing every day. Thank God for the distinctions. That's what I feel right now. Because like getting clear on my racket about my life right now was really helpful this morning.
What did you see?
What I saw was, and I've been reading Speaking Being, but what I really saw was that I have a racket about being, I have a fixed way of being, which came, started at the beginning of my life, that where I'm locked into set actions that are about caring and compassionate and there for people and helpful and good girl, fixing it. And I really saw, you know, it was like I thought that was a good thing until I saw the whole thing and saw that it's not really me. I mean, it's an identity.
Inauthenticity, inauthentic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's freeing to think I don't have to do that, but I'm not sure. I have no idea how not to do that. At the same time.
Yeah. That's,
I thought that was a good.
that's, yeah. You know, that's what, you know, earlier Colum spoke to how he wound up being. And in the forum for graduates, they've created that distinction a little differently. It's how you landed.
Mm.
It's just how you landed when you landed on that way of being. Something happened, you created a way of being about it, and that's where you landed with it. And there's nothing you can do to not do it. You know, just try stopping it.
Yeah.
So what caused, you said you got some freedom around it this morning. What had you get freed up a little bit?
I was talking to another senior graduate who helped me see that that, you know, it takes over whenever I'm threatened. And see, just I think what I really got was I don't have to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
In the noticing of it, it's already disappearing, perhaps.
Yeah. In the noticing of the racket and the particular way of being, that's bringing distinction to then what's so, and then you have choice.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's that's the freedom I found, was that I have a choice to see if it still give me what I want.
Yeah. Well,
So
if it's a racket, it is giving you something. There is a payoff, but it's what's costing you is the question.
well, I get what it's costing me in that it's not coming from love. It's coming from fear and it's off-putting to people rather than inclusive and
Yeah.
authentic. And I still, like, even as I'm saying this, I feel like I get this all figured out.
Yeah, until the next time. Until that illusionary fear shows up, that threat shows up again. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very ingrained, very, yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. Thanks for sharing that, Monica. And I just want to say your way of being right now on Zoom is, it's like you are with me. There is a way you are, and part of it is just the doingness of actually looking into the camera versus looking at the little thumbnail. Like right now, I'm looking at Fitzgerald and talking, but Fitzgerald, it doesn't appear to Fitzgerald I'm talking to him, right? But now if the way I'm speaking and looking, you all get the sense that I'm actually speaking to you. And that's what I experienced with you during this interaction.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Takes
just
practice.
it does, because we want to look at the person we're talking to. Yeah.
I know.
But, you know, I've been in a lot of the online programs and watching the leaders and watching people participate. And it really is and I'm sharing this with you because guess what? This is our new world. This is how we're going to be with people for some time. You know, mine, it's the little green dot on my MacBook, like looking into the camera and actually speaking to the dot, so to speak, but getting that out there is a whole other world. You. So Monica, I acknowledge you because I really got you during that interaction, the way you were being with the Zoom.
I wasn't aware of it, but thank you.
Yeah.
I was looking
You're
at you,
welcome.
but yeah, okay.
Well, you can also, like, I have 3 monitors actually, but the way I've created it is I've got the monitor of who's speaking, the window, just right above my little camera.
That's cool.
So it's just about how you can manage your windows so that you can actually get a sense of the person who's talking and be with them in the camera.
Mhm.
And then on my actual laptop window, I have the gallery view where everybody is if I want to look down at somebody. So this is just to train you all, because I'm pretty sure this is what's going to be happening with us for some time.
Cool.
Be with each other, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Okay,
Tim,
Yes.
if I can offer something.
sure, Fitzgerald.
Okay, so the way you are right now,
Mm-hmm.
I can't actually see your eyes, your back.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and
My back.
you're further
Oh, I'm
back.
far from the camera?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and that's what I loved with Monica. First, the lighting is really bright and
Yeah.
clear, and the fact that you're also at the camera provides like connection rather than, I know when
Yeah.
I'm sitting like that, there's not much connection.
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, so I'm sitting now forward in my chair. That
Yeah.
better?
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Thanks, Fitzgerald. Okay, who else would like to share? What's going on? What have you noticed? What are you dealing with? Any breakthroughs you've had, breakdowns you've had?
Sherry, didn't you participate in the forum this weekend?
Did you say me?
Sherry,
Oh,
you're on mute, Sherry.
Yes, I did participate in the forum.
really?
The
Which
Landmark
one?
Forum for Graduates with Barry Terry.
Aha, I was
Uh-huh.
with Larry Pearson.
Yeah. It was totally awesome, I'd like to say. And there are a lot of new distinctions, I thought, and a lot of, I really got that landing on, and the way Barry presented it, I don't know if they presented it this way in your forum, but it's like, if you just consider that the world is filled with a pincushion, and there are billions of pins in that cushion, and you just happen to land on a particular thing. You have really no control over it. It's just something happened, and you landed on this pinhead, and that became your meaning. It was extraordinary, the impact that that new distinction had to people. A lot of graduates were put off by that. It's like, no, I made up the meaning, and now I can be responsible for, I made up that meaning and taking on being responsible for it. And he's like, no, just consider that you landed on it. And one of the gentlemen that he happened to be coaching, you could just watch the weight lift from him. He was like, you mean I didn't make that up? I just landed there? And Barry's like, yeah, you just landed there. And he was like, oh my God. I had shades of Jim. It was like, oh, it's just bubbling up out of me. It's just bubbling up out of me. Those bubbles are just bubbling away. So it was extraordinary and very powerful, and very a different view of that distinction, you know, of the collapsing of the story and of what happened, right? And the origin of the story. And then the other thing that was really extraordinary to me was the explanation of our strong suits, I want to say, but it's
Winning formula.
winning formulas.
Mm-hmm.
So it was explained very differently than I had heard it. And it was similar to what, Tom, you and I were discussing previously, that it's always in comparison to someone who has some traits or attributes that you want to have and know, and you decide that you will never, ever be able to have those attributes. And so you develop your own ways of being in the world to achieve whatever it is you're out to achieve in the world. And they really work well most of the time. But what's missing as a result of that, because these are compensatory skills that you've developed in reaction to skills that someone else has, you're never fulfilled. no matter what you achieve, it's always of a compensatory nature. You're always making up for something that you perceive that you can't have. And that was truly extraordinary for me, very, very freeing, and really gave me a totally new perspective on winning formulas. Yeah, so it was really awesome. It's a very, I would recommend it to anyone,
Yes.
any one of you. And it's much shorter than the forum. It's much more focused in the delivery. And by God, sitting there in the course and having Barry Terry sitting right there looking at me as he delivered Empty and Meaningless was like the most extraordinary experience I have ever had. For an hour and a half, this man, I mean, you can be with the leader when you're in a course room, but when you're sitting in front of a screen and the person who's delivering the material is right there with you. And I get that he's not really with you personally, but it's the occurring is that he is with you. It's really extraordinary. So it was a great experience. And of course, walking out into this world in which we see so much conflict. We did have a conversation regarding the conflict and things that are erupting currently. And it was a conversation that wasn't expected by me or most of the people in the course. And it was basically, Barry was pointing out to us that our reaction to these stimuli is why we're still in conflict, because we're reacting to whatever's happening, and we stay in the conflict rather than getting that there's no inherent meaning in anything. I've heard a lot of meaning bandied about today, and it's not to deny people's feelings or anything like that, but we imbue everything with such meaning that we get positional and we think, oh my God, how could people do this? Rather than creating a possibility of love. So that was truly enlightening as well. And I've walked out, and yes, of course, what's happening is intolerable in lots of ways. And my approach to it is less one of condemnation and being inside of my feelings, and rather one of being from nothing, what can I create? And the other thing that was different was that there's a whole new layer of integrity introduced in this course, that prior to declaring a possibility, one must declare that I am my word. I am nothing and my word. And from that, you can then declare your possibility. So that's a new component to the delivery of the course that I was not present to previously. So anyway, those are, I could go on for hours talking about it. I bored a lot of people with it, but it was very extraordinary. Yeah.
Sherry, just really an awesome job of really creating and sharing some of the nuances of the Forum for Graduates. I could not have said all of that the way you did.
Thanks.
Yeah. So before we move on, does anyone have any questions about the Forum for Graduates for Sherry or myself? I do want to share what I got from it as well.
I don't have a question regarding the forum yet. I have a comment about what's going on. So why don't you do that, and then I'll comment after.
Yeah. So a couple of things I got present to that I've done the forum. This will be my 4th review. Well, let me just say this. The Forum for Graduates is not a review of the Landmark Forum. It is distinct. It is a forum for graduates. So if you've done a review of the forum before, the Landmark Forum, this is not it. This is unique. But what I also got present to that I never had done in any of the work was like Sherry mentioned, you create a compensatory way of being because you could never be a certain way someone was. I distinguished that my best friend all through 7th, 8th, all the way up through second year of college, he was this person that I could never be. And what I discovered was that I created ways of being that would have me be able to be around him, to be in the group of people that I could never be with. But if I was just his friend, and if I was useful, and if I was funny, I could be around him. And that's what I do with, I can't be a landmark forum leader, but I sure can be helpful. I could be a course supervisor. And I see that all through my life. Just a way of being that has me not actually be authentic to who I am, to who I can actually be. That was very freeing. And then something else in distinguishing, I don't belong here. I never got to this. And when I got to it, I was like, I almost fell back out of my chair. I'm like, how could you not see this? So high school, no, yeah, freshman year of high school, I'm going out on a date with a girl. And I remember coming home and sitting on my bed and just crying, and my mother coming in the room, and she didn't know what was wrong, and I couldn't say what was wrong, but I knew that I was gay and I did not belong in the world of being straight. And that was the moment when I started creating ways of being that would have no one figure this out. Lying, hiding, pretending, a whole way of being that had me not be found out. That was critical to that's critical to how I've landed. Years later, of course, I came out, and who cares all that, but that was, I had never seen that before. And the Forum for Graduates really has you really, really, really look.
That's why they call it a blind spot.
Totally, it was so obvious.
You couldn't see it because it wasn't there for you.
It just wasn't. I just didn't get that. That's when I really created, I don't belong here. I had made up something else. So yeah, do remember the advanced course video during the Sunday night session of the forum when the African American girl says, the advanced course, it's the Jews, do something like that.
Yeah.
That's it. Do the Forum for Graduates, it's the Jews. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's what I'll share about that.
Yeah.
Thanks. Fitzgerald, what would you like to share or say?
Well, for me, I find it difficult to not give meaning to what's going on, given that I have 2 kids that are African American, and that's the world in which they are engaged. And really the conflict for me with the violence, and I certainly do not condone putting a building on fire with somebody inside. And I also see that if there was not this extreme reaction, it would just be something like as usual. And so I'm conflicted with, I don't want the violence.
Yep.
And I see that without the violence, the impact would not be the same.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, what? Now what?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because for years and decades, you know, there's been talk. There's been peaceful protests. and nothing has changed.
Well, there have been lots of violent protests too. I mean, that's not a new phenomenon, a violent response. And you can certainly get and be with the anger and the years of, I don't know if you guys got the letter from Harry Rosenberg today or the communication, Amy, but the years of not being heard and the impact of that on a human being is truly, it's a big impact, right? And there's a lot of people who are very angry. And then what the conversation was, though, it was with a Black woman in the forum that I did, and it was, you don't get empty and meaningless. How do you have it? What is it to be Black? And she said, oh, well, what it is that my son cannot walk outside without fearing for his life. And every time my son walks out the door, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Which is a meaning that's been given to a set of circumstances. And it's not to say that meaning is improper or incorrect. It's a very logical meaning to ascribe to the circumstances. And if we live inside of that meaning is the truth and that view, then we have no hope of shifting the paradigm of what it is to be a human being. We don't have any access to that. We're mired in the anger and the upset.
The resignation and the
resignation.
Yeah.
And so it throws us in, it's a really counterintuitive conversation. And I will say that when this conversation was occurring in the forum, it was beyond silent.
Yeah.
It was just like, it was.
Mute was an understatement.
Yeah, it was crazy because there's such a righteous and indignant response to not being present to how horrible this behavior is, right? And I don't think anyone's saying not to be present to it, but to step back and from nothing and word create the possibility of who you are, rather than staying inside of your emotional response to particular stimuli. And that's where we'll shift the paradigm if enough people can interact with the world that way. That's where the paradigm will shift. And it's not to absolve anybody or anything like that, but you can see, I mean, I was reminded the other day when they were saying about this crazy martial law thing, and they said, well, there's precedent for that. It happened when the fellow in LA was murdered. And I thought, oh my God, that happened, 40 years ago, and we're stuck in the same conversation. It hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for me, it's my first time living, experiencing a riot. I wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't here in the US 40 years ago.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying, and it's not easy. I'll say it this way. It's not easy to step back from it when there's that visceral fear and anger. Okay, fear from my kids and anger that the world is still like this.
Totally get it. Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. It's what it is to be human.
Yeah.
It's what it is to be human, and we're all human. Yeah.
In my forum for graduates, Larry Pearson was leading, who happens to be the only African-American forum leader on the planet. And of course the conversation came up, and he was so brilliant. The bottom line of the conversation was, if you really look at the change, no change conversation, you have a triangle.
Mm-hmm.
all we're doing is making it a circle, a square, a Lego, which I didn't know that diagram was a Lego, if you remember. Right triangle, whatever. I mean, no change, bringing no change. Now, you hear that and you give meaning to, yeah, but we got to do something. But creating a possibility of love and compassion and affinity and connectivity brings no change to that, but it creates a clearing and a space for people to be able to actually make a difference for others. And one of the things that Larry said was, look, we know we're right about this. We know that it is not okay to kill anybody. It is not okay what's going on with racism and discrimination in this country. We know we're right about that. But if you're going to be righteous about it, you're never going to make a difference. So you have a choice: be right and righteous, or be right and make a contribution and make a difference. And that pretty much solved it for most people. It really got me to thinking about just my way of being about when I know I'm right about things. And inside of the way of being, of knowing, being a know-it-all like I am and how I grew up, the oldest of three boys, I was going to prove I was a know-it-all. There's no opportunity for actually the authentic being of Tim to show up. So that was one of the other things that came from the Forum for Graduates for me, was there is no chance of being inside of knowing, the context of knowing.
Yeah.
So it's if we really do, Fitzgerald, I really got us today. I was stopping us having lunch and I stopped and so Julio's father was in the hospital over the weekend, and so he was with his mother for the weekend, and he was gone during all of this time that was happening. And his family doesn't live in a great neighborhood, and I wasn't even present to all this. You know, for me, Julio is Cuban, and he is Cuban. But today when he was home, he came home yesterday, and I'm sitting and I'm looking at him, and he's letting his hair grow out, and he has an afro, and he's very dark. He is an Afro-Cuban. And I really got present to that Julio could walk out the door, go down the street, and never come back just because of his skin color. So Fitzgerald, I really do get it.
Yeah.
And what there is for me is to make sure this work gets spread across the planet, so that Colum doesn't have to deal with what he's dealing with, knowing what happened. So none of us have to deal with it. So, anybody else?
Right. People have I just would add that people have been reacting to this kind of behavior for centuries, for millenniums. I mean, and it doesn't make a difference.
No. It's the us and them paradigm that has us be fearful of them. We have not dissolved that us and them in our language and our way of being with people.
Then what will make a difference?
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't expect to have the answer now, but
Getting that life is empty and meaningless, and it's empty and meaningless, and it's empty and meaningless, and it's standing inside I am my word and creating a possibility. Yeah. And that will shift something for the human beings that we are.
Hi, this is
really.
Noah.
Hi, Noah.
Hey, Noah.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for what you all are sharing. And just coming down to this question now, it's like, what is there to do? It reminds me of the book, The 3 Laws of Performance, I believe it's called. And in that book, they talk about, history in which there was a group of people and there was a business. I don't remember the full detail, but it came down to that people traveled They traveled for many, many miles from different places. It was hot, it was sweaty, but everyone wanted peace. They wanted to get through and have a breakthrough. So anything and everything is possible. It really is. Even if it's not part of our past, what's possible, or it's even if it's not clear, I do see it as possible. And sometimes I don't. Sometimes I sit there and I'm like, I don't think this will ever change. But I don't think I want change. I want transformation. I want that it's gonna take magic and miracles. And just to share quickly as well, what's been available for me inside of all of this is just being able to just sit down and listen. Because I started noticing right away, I already have an immediate thought about this. Before it even happened, I already have my stance, my position, where I stand in this. I already have an always listening. And as soon as I caught that, I said, okay, well, if I already have already always listening, what's the point of even talking to anybody? So I sat there and I didn't say anything. I kept quiet, I listened, and then I said something, and then I started sharing things. But then I went back to just, no, let me listen, because not everyone's gonna think the same way as me. And sometimes, regardless of where you're at, who you are, race, color, wherever, it doesn't matter where what your opinion is. What I got is that people just want to be listened to, heard, and
right.
It's just coming back to nothing. And inside of there, I've had many powerful conversations with people where they've to be heard. I apologize. Such something by accident. Okay, I'm back. So they've just been able to be heard regardless of where they stand, and people have had different opinions, and I've just been like a whiteboard. So that's where I'm
That's
at,
awesome.
and I'm thankful. I want to acknowledge everyone for that, just for being who they are, just for being the kind of people, acknowledge us, the kind of people that are willing to take a stand and make a difference, no matter what it looks like.
No, thank you for really just sharing that about listening. Just people want to be heard, because
Yeah.
that is what's going on right now.
What it brought up for me is a couple of years ago when Khaled was the center manager, and I had a reaction to him, and I told him, you don't listen to me. Nobody listens to me. And that was there, like you said, that's where I landed, or that's the way I want to be, whatever you want to call it. But it's already there, and yeah, it's not only me. It's a whole culture. It's a whole race, and even maybe I'm pretty sure it's not just common to Black people,
No,
Oh, no.
it's the already always listening that all humans
Yeah.
are born into. It's like the rain shower.
Yeah.
Yep, no one's listening.
And
Hi,
yeah,
Desiree.
thank you more for that share.
Hey.
Hi.
So, I registered into the upcoming forum with James. I'm happy to hear from your sharing, and I've heard from sharing in the, in the recordings with Gitanjali and all of this. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's next week. I've been resigned and completely just, resign is the word.
Yeah.
I've been maybe for the last year, just like following protest after protest in different parts of the world, in Hong Kong and Chile and Colombia and Honduras, in Venezuela, in Cuba. It's like part of my job is to follow what's going on and take actions for or against it, or nonviolence training and this whole thing. And with the COVID and with, you know, with the situation I share with you in Cuba right now and like now here, and it's just like, it seems like there's no hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it's where I am about all of it. And then my machinery is just full on taking over.
You know, that reminded me of the conversation. Another shift to the way things were delivered is the superstition is versus the occurring was very powerful also. And the superstition I, of course, follows it. But as you were speaking, Desiree, that's how it is. You know, how there's no hope because this is how it is versus how it occurs. There is no real is about it. But I totally get, I wasn't present to that's your whole world. And for the past year, that's what you've been dealing with. So thank you for being, you know, who you are in the world for people who have no voice. Yeah.
And thanks for registering yourself into the landmark forum, James.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great.
Awesome.
All right. Here's what I'm going to tell you about. You're both in the same one, right? Are you going to be on one device or two? Good. I was going to suggest
Yeah.
you be on your own devices. And then if one of you speaks, you got to turn the volume up. You'll hear.
No, we're
feedback,
gonna be in different rooms.
different rooms. Okay, good.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, that was not fun when two people were in the same room on two devices, and it was like, ah!
At this point of the quarantine, any little thing just kind of, you know, triggers.
So
You're
you
watching your
need to be,
phone? What?
You need to be separate. Yeah, I got it. Okay. Okay.
We're in very close quarters, so it's
Yeah.
you know, aside from all the things in the world, you know, we're
I understand.
3 months in quarantine.
Yeah.
I understand. What's behind this curtain is Julio's office. Other half of this office is his, and he's a school teacher on Zoom, just like I am all day. So I understand.
Yeah.
With parrots in the other room who are just wanting to participate. So
it's, you know, it's interesting. Everybody is on some sort of call. We have a forum leader, a designated seminar leader. We have James, who's always on the computer, and then I'm working still. And so it's just like at all times of the day, there's just always somebody on some call, and you got to be some sort of careful or quiet, or it's just like, you know, kind of like skip by them. And so it's just interesting.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, listen, we have 7 minutes, but I need to jump off to get onto my evening with the Landmark Forum leader,
right?
Which is in 7 minutes with Larry. But that doesn't mean you guys can't go on. I just wanted to look. I also wanted to give. I'll make someone a host. I will. I wanted to give the opportunity for anyone to say anything that they wanted to say or ask questions about JD Bruce leaving the program. Is there anything there for anybody?
I feel really bad that I can't picture his face in my mind.
Yeah, I got that.
Can't really.
You may never have met him. You might not
in
have
Orlando? In Tampa.
He's in Tampa.
Yeah, he's here in Tampa.
So he was a course supervisor in 2015 and left in the spring of 2015, I think, and then came back.
I remember his voice, but I just can't.
Yeah.
With me.
And Desiree, you're not the only one. I don't remember his face. I don't even remember his voice.
Yeah.
And what's there for me is like, why is there something that I could have done differently and all of that. And that's meaning that I'm given to it.
Yeah, and the answer is yeah, there might have been, but it may not have made the difference. JD made the choice. He came into the program with a particular listening of what the program was going to be for him, and it didn't show up that way. So, yeah.
Yeah. Seeing what could I have done, it's what I'm noticing though is that it's always the same people that haven't done their assignments, and
Those are red flags.
yeah, and
There's sometimes that.
Definitely, I believe that a phone call to at least one of them or all of them, would be appropriate. I'm worried about Julie.
Yeah.
Julie.
Well,
Yeah.
Julie, yeah. Well, Fran has talked to Julie recently. Julie is in communication, out of communication. But you all have her phone number.
Yeah.
So I want to go, and I'm gonna turn the host over to you, Sherry.
Oh, you really want to do
record?
Okay.
What meaning are you giving to it?
Well, just from a technology perspective.
Well,
you don't have to do anything, but
bye,
if he
Tim. Have a great Wednesday
then,
evening. If he hangs
Thank
up, then we're in trouble. Don't hang up.
then the call disconnects, so he has to make you the host so he can get out.
yeah.
All right.
So Sherry, you're going to be the host, and the recording will just stop when you stop. So don't worry about it. Thank you all. Bye.
Okay. Thank
Bye,
you.
Tim.
Have a great
Bye,
night
Tim.
tonight. Yeah.
Hey guys, this is Jamie. Just really quick, regarding JD Bruce. It just really surprised me because, he was really enthusiastic about his wife checking out the course supervisor program, and was a real demand for me to share it with her and give her an introduction, even during a time we're not really doing that. And I did, and she looked at it, and I'm just surprised, to me, somebody who's really enrolled in the program would be sharing it with people in his life, which is kind of how I had it. And, the breakthroughs he was having in his well-being, he seemed to really be taking it on. So I was just surprised, and I wonder if it's, the lack of having courses or what it was that had him not be enrolled in it. But anyway, that's what I had to share.
Thanks, Jamie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of was in the same space because he was leader support with Catherine about 3 weeks after I was leader support for her. So I had a conversation with him for like an hour, more than an hour and a half, about being leader support for her. And he seemed very, lit up after the forum about being able to do that, assist that way. And he had a lot to share. He was, even though like only half of the people that registered showed up and they didn't have a Tuesday night, he was on one of those courses that, they didn't have the Tuesday night because of the lockdown. He just seemed really, just really excited about being a course supervisor. But then I've noticed, like on our level 1 distinction calls that we have, like he was asked to role play and he declined, and then he stopped doing his homework. And so it was like a 180-degree turnaround within the matter of like a month. And so I was surprised too. But when I look back over the last 2 months, there's been like, he was leader support on the forum and he was excited for a couple weeks, and then he kind of like disappeared. So
There was some distancing. So you should all call him and have a conversation with him and ask him what's so for him.
yeah.
And I would speculate it's just that the nature of the program has changed. And some people you know, it doesn't work for people that the only thing that's certain is uncertainty. That construct doesn't work for them. So
Who does it work for?
It sure doesn't work for me. I'll tell you that right now.
well, there you
For
go.
Cherie.
That's
Yeah.
Cherie.
Only for me. No, I would say for all of us, you know, it's like we have an illusion that there is to be certainty. And in reality, there was never any certainty. But anyway, I think that people have expectations of the program that are have to be shifted in this period of suspension of the program, because the program is suspended, right? So,
Well, what we signed up for is not happening right now.
right.
And that's a reality.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys should call him and talk to him if you'd like to, you know, understand more fully what it was that had him leave. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
what
what I
Tom
would
just said, made me chuckle, because they always say how it goes in the course is how it goes in your life. And that's, you know, this is not what I signed up for either, you know, in
Yep.
my career or whatever. So yeah, it's perfect.
Perfect. All right. On that note, we're 1 minute over. So unless somebody has something else to say, does anybody else have a burning desire to say something? To
Be
share?
safe.
I
Just-
love you all.
Where's the
Yeah.
link for the call tonight with Larry Pearson?
With Larry?
I
It's
mean,
on
our-
Tim's,
Tim
it's
put it
on
WhatsApp.
Tim's email that he sent in his WhatsApp. Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah. And I have the one for Barry Terry, if you like that one. Okay. Okay. Well, go ahead.
And then we
Desiree.
just put attended on the course supervisor website.
Oh, good. Great. Good
Thank-
reminder. Everybody mark yourself as having attended the call. And for those of you who are listening, make sure you do that when you listen. And I love you all and have a great night.
Good night, everybody.
Everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, Jerry.
Bye. Bye.